soils are the reservoirs of nutrients and for supplying water to the plants and crops. Study of soils and their properties are needed for several reasons in geology, engineering geology, agronomy, agricultural practices and development studies. Let us see the distribution of soils in India. The Indian Council of Agricultural Research has identified 8 major types of soils in India. They are the alluvial soils, the black soils, the red soils, laterite soils, desert soils, mountain soils, saline and alkaline soils and peaty and marshy soils. The alluvial soils are formed by deposition of alluvium by the rivers. They occupy almost 1.5 million square kilometers area in India. They contribute greatly in the agricultural development. Alluvial soils are mainly transported soils by various geological agents. They are coarser in the upper section and finest in the deltaic regions. They are light to dark in color. Alluvial soils are rich in potash and humus contents. They are poor in phosphorus and nitrogen. Alluvial soils are highly fertile and good for all crops. They are distributed in the areas of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Assam and parts of Odisha and the deltaic regions of South Indian states. The black soils are yet another important types of soils. They are also known as regur or black cotton soils. They are dark grey to black in color. They possess high clay content. They are highly moist retentive soils. They develop cracks in the summer period. Black soil covers almost 0.54 million square kilometers in Indian areas. They are highly suitable for growing cotton. They are rich in iron, lime, calcium, magnesium, carbonates and alumina. Black soils are poor in phosphorus, nitrogen and organic matter. The areas of distribution of these soils are Deccan Trap regions, which include Maharashtra, western Madhya Pradesh, parts of Andhra Pradesh, northern Karnataka, parts of Tamil Nadu and Rajasthan. The red soils are formed due to the weathering of old crystalline rocks. They are more sandy and less clayey. They are rich in iron and small amounts of humus content. They are poor in phosphorus, nitrogen and lime. They are slightly acidic and do not retain moisture. Red soils cover about 0.35 million square kilometers area in India. These are porous and friable soils. Red soils are covered in the areas of Tamil Nadu, southern Karnataka, parts of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal, eastern Rajasthan and many of the northeastern states. The term laterite is derived from the Latin word meaning brick. They are formed under high temperature and rainfall with wet and dry spells. In these soils, silica is leached due to high rainfall. The remnants of iron and aluminum oxides left behind in the soil are used to form the laterites. These are brown to yellowish in color. They become hard when exposed to the atmosphere. These are also used as building materials in several parts of the world. Laterite soils are rich in iron and poor in lime, potash and magnesium. Lateritic soils occupy about 0.24 million square kilometers in the areas of India. They are occurring in parts of Assam, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Kerala. Desert soils are very typical soil types. They contain much soluble salts. They are originated by mechanical disintegration and wind deposits. They are porous and coarse grained materials. They contain almost 90% of sand and 5% clay. They are rich in nitrates and phosphates. They are poor in nitrogen and humus content. These are friable, sandy and low moist content soils. They cover about 0.14 million square kilometers area in India in the arid and semi-arid regions of Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab and Gujarat. Mountain soils are found in the hill slopes. They are formed by deposition of organic matter from the forests. They are rich in humus content and poor in potash and lime. They are found in the areas of Assam, Kashmir, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. Saline and alkaline soils contain salts like sodium, magnesium and calcium. These are infertile soils. They are unfit for cultivation. They are sandy to loamy in texture. They are seen in parts of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. Peaty and marshy soil occur in the humid regions. They are formed by the accumulation of organic matter. They are black in color. They are highly acidic and heavy. They are found in the areas around Kottayam and Alappuzha in Kerala, the coastal Odisha and the Sundarban regions of West Bengal. The term soil degradation refers to the deterioration and degradation of the soil's quality and capacity to support life. The causes for soil degradation are intensive farming, soil erosion, soil compaction, loss of nutrients, loss of biotic activities, poisoning of soils by chemicals, salts, acids and bases. Soil erosion is a very serious problem caused due to several factors. It can reduce the crop productivity. Environmental pollution is yet another cause of soil degradation. Pollution by all human activities also lead to this problem. Groundwater depletion due to over irrigation and pumping will also create problems. Lowering of water table is a major issue. Soil erosion is caused by many natural and man-made factors. Erosion occurs due to wind, water, animals and human activities and also by mass wasting. Water erosion occurs in the form of sheet erosion, rill erosion and gully erosion. The wind erosion may occur as saltation, suspension and surface creep. In addition to these, landslides may occur, they remove soils. The stream bank erosion may also remove soils. Deforestation and overgrazing may also remove soils, and many faulty practices of cultivation on the slopes may also increase soil erosion. There are some methods to control the soil erosion. Some are biological methods, some are other managerial practices. The biological methods are mainly agronomic practices which include contour farming, mulching, crop rotation and strip cropping. Dry farming is an important aspect. Agroastrological methods including hay farming and retiring lands to grass is an important method. Mechanical methods include contour terracing and basin formation. The other methods include gully control, stream bank protection and afforestation. The most effective methods to preserve soil fertility and protect the quality of soils are fallowing, crop rotation, organic fertilizer usage, drip and trickle irrigation and organic farming. Controlling soil degradation requires appropriate soil management practices. A thorough study of the soil is necessary for carrying out the controlling measures. Pedology is the scientific study of soils. It deals with the appearance, the mode of formation, the distribution, the properties and classification of soils. So far we have seen the subject pedology only. Pedology is an investigative science much like geology and geography. Pedology borrows upon the concepts from agriculture, forestry, history, geology, geography and archaeology. Soil scientists called pedologists use the term polypedons for the bodies of individual kinds of soils in a geographic area. Polypedons can be indefinitely large, but some have a surface area of only about 1 square meter. Some polypedons measure less than 13 centimeters deep, others are more than 1 meters deep. Soil profile is another term which is also used to describe the composition of soil. So, soil profile, polypedons are the technical terms used by us while studying pedology. The mineral matter of soil consists of two groups as primary minerals and secondary minerals. The primary minerals of soils are resistant, coarse grained minerals weathered from rocks. The secondary minerals of soils are formed in the soils by recombination of substances, usually the fine grained substances. The mineral portion comes from primarily from in situ weathering of the geological rock types. Occasionally minerals are transported as well as blown in the aeolian and wind transported deposits which will be mixing with the soils. The particles range in size from very small clay particles measured in microns up to sand sized particles that can be measured in millimeters. This fraction of the soil is called as fine earth and usually consists of particles less than 2 millimeters in size. It is upon this soil fraction that the soil texture is determined. So, while studying soil science, we will be discussing about all these aspects. The fine earth fraction can be further broken down into three classes. The sand sized particles, as I have explained, the diameter is between 0.02 to 2 millimeters. The silt sized particles where the diameter is ranging from 0.02 to 0.002 millimeters, and the clay sized particles with diameters less than 0.002 millimeters. Soil organisms are very important features studied under pedology. Organic matter is derived mostly from the decaying plant matter, but also consists of decaying animal matter. The organic matter in soil is composed of cellulose, starch and lignin in various states of decomposition. Plant and animal matter consists of organic material in various stages of decay. Many organisms also live in the soil, as I have explained, which comes under the subject soil microbiology. Soil organisms include plant roots, microbes and animals like worms, insects and small mammals. Bacteria, fungi and other microbes decompose the dead plants and animals and they break down them into smaller organic molecules. Many soil organisms help in mineral and organic particles aggregate and form clumps of soils. The roots, the burrowing animals and the natural weathering processes break apart the soil particles and they make the large clumps of soils. Soil pH is an important property studied in pedology. Soils support a number of inorganic and organic chemical reactions. Many of these reactions are dependent on a variety of soil chemical properties. One of the most important chemical properties of a soil is the pH, which is known as the hydrogen ion concentration. Soil pH is generally related to the concentration of free hydrogen ions in the soil matrix. In pedology, we also study the humus content of soils. Humus is the biochemical substance that makes the upper layers of the soil which becomes dark in color. Humus is itself colored dark brown to black in color. Humus is difficult to see or study in isolation because it becomes intimately mixed with the mineral particles. Humus provides the soil with a number of benefits. Humus increases the soil's ability to hold and store soil moisture. It reduces the elevation of soluble nutrients. It is an important source of carbon and nitrogen which are required by the plants. It improves soil structure for plant growth. Organic activity is abundant in soils. 1 cubic centimeter of soil may contain over 1 million bacteria. A hectare of pasture land in a humid climate can contain more than 1 million earthworms and about 25 million insects. Insects and earthworms are very important in mixing and aerating the soil conditions. These organisms are also responsible for producing a significant part of the soil humus content through the incomplete digestion of the organic matter also. Soil conservation is a part of the study of soils under pedology, and soil conservation is nothing but the wise use of soils. The soils of farmlands, grazing lands and the forest lands provide many products and recreational areas, so that it is important to conserve them. Wise use of farmlands involve maintaining a high level of nutrients and organic matter in cultivated soils. Farmers add organic matter to the soils by ploughing under certain green plants. They also add fertilizers and rotate the crops to replace the nutrients that leaching and growing plants remove regularly. In addition, farmers plough the land and plant their fields in ways that control erosion also. Grazing lands that have been overgrazed also suffer from soil erosion. Overgrazing decreases the amounts of plant life and organic matter in the soil. With few plant roots to hold it in place, the soil erodes easily. Farmers conserve grazing lands by limiting the time that their herds graze in one area. Forest lands also must be protected from soil erosion. In some cases, foresters leave unusable branches and other parts of the trees on the forest floor to add organic matter to the soils. They also develop large healthy groups of trees whose roots penetrate and protect the soils by holding it in place against wind erosion and water erosion. Let us see the factors controlling soils. Rainwater, wind and other natural forces gradually wear away the soil particles. So, soil erosion has to be controlled by controlling these agents. This process is called as soil erosion, and normally it is occurring very slowly in different parts. The role of the plants have to be understood first. Increased rate of soil erosion by removing the natural vegetation to clear the land for construction projects, mining operations, or to establish new farmlands. All these human activities will increase the rate of soil erosion. Plants protect the soil from the direct force of raindrops and wind. Their roots hold the soil in place. Plants also absorb some rainwater so that less runoff can be seen on the land. Farmers can reduce soil erosion by planting trees and leaving patches of natural vegetation between their fields and also on other unploughed areas. The trees serve as wind breaks and the plant cover slows the runoff of the rainwater, so soil erosion can be reduced. Many farmers also practice such soil conservation methods as contour ploughing, strip cropping, terracing and minimum tillage operations. Declining soil fertility is an important problem. Another major conservation problem of farmlands is the declining soil fertility, which is caused partly by the planting of same crop in the field all through the year. Maize, wheat and other grain crops drain the soil of an essential chemical called nitrogen if they are grown on the same field for several years. The next important aspect is rotation of crops. Farmers can maintain the fertility of the soil by practicing crop rotation, in which the crops are alternated from year to year. The rotation of crops is usually a legume such as alfalfa or soya beans. Unlike maize and wheat, legumes restore nitrogen to the soils. The use of biofertilizers are very important aspects. Some farmers add plant remains or manure like animal waste to their agricultural fields to enrich the soil fertility. Many farmers use chemical fertilizers for this purpose. However, excessive use of some chemical fertilizers may decrease the ability of bacteria to decay humus and produce nutrients by natural methods. So, it is very dangerous to use the chemical fertilizers in excessive form. Addition of too many salts is a very important issue in soil. A common problem on irrigated farmland is the built-up of various chemical salts in the soil. Most irrigation water contains small amounts of these salts. In time, the salts accumulate in the soil and may reduce the plant growth and ruin the cropland by salinization. Tillage is an important factor. Minimum tillage, also called conservation tillage, consists of several methods of reducing the number of times a field must be tilled. Normally, farmers till their fields 3 or 4 times a year. One form of minimum tillage is called as zero tillage or no tillage. Translocation is an important issue in this. When water moves downward into the soil, it causes both mechanical and chemical translocation of the materials. The process of eluviation is the flushing of fine particles like clay or dissolved substances to the lower levels in the soil profile. The process of deposition of these fine particles at the lower levels is called as eluviation. Downward percolating water also causes the translocation of the nutrients and complex chemical substances within the soil profile. The complete chemical removal of these substances from the soil profile is known as leaching. Soil use and abuse are two important things. The recent increases in the human population have placed a great strain on the world's soil systems. More than 6 million people are now using about 10% of the land area of the earth to raise the crops and livestock. When used for such purposes, soils can suffer various types of degradation that can ultimately reduce their ability to produce food resources. So, soil erosion is the number one factor degrading the soils on a global scale. Agriculture increases the risk of erosion through its disturbance of the vegetation by way of land use conservation, tilling or overgrazing. So, farming also degrades the soils through chemical alteration. Chemical degradation of soil can also occur when farmland is irrigated continuously with overwater. So, over irrigation leads to salinization. The unprotected soil, overgrazed soil, soils in improper farming lands, forest fire, urbanization, deforestation, shifting cultivation, all of these factors are the causes of soil erosion. The role of wind and water, rainfall, topography all control the movement of soils. So, the following are the best practices of soil conservation: conservation of moisture, vegetative cover, mulching, slope management, creating rough surface, trash tillage, regular grazing, strip cropping, wind breaks and construction of shelter belts, contour barriers, vegetative hedges for infiltration, drainage control, runoff management, water and irrigation controls, controlling the accelerated soil erosion features, crop residue management, contour farming and construction of engineering structures are the best practices to control soil erosion. Wind breaks are effective when a wall of trees and other plants blocks the wind which can erode the soils. The wind breaks should also limit violent motions of the wind to those areas closest to the wind breaks. Soil and water conservation are dependent upon a harmonious relationship among the environmental elements that include soil, water, plant and animal resources. Soil management concerns all the operations and practices and treatments that are used to protect the soil and enhance their performance. The quality of many soils can be improved with good soil management practices. Let us follow those practices and protect the soil resources.